So hello and good morning. It's been a while. My name is Steve Pugh. I host something called the Growth Strategy Podcast, which we broadcast onto lots of different kind of channels. But I also do something called the Business Strategy Livestream, where we talk about really interesting business related topics or stuff that I've been kind of up to this week. And the hope is to share some of kind of my journey, what I've been up to, but also share some of the realities of often things aren't as perfect as people kind of choose to portray and stuff on social media. So I also talk about stuff which is hopefully of interest. And if you check us out on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Twitch, lots of other places as well. I love it if people kind of get in touch and that kind of thing. So my name's Steve Pugh. I'm the founder of something called the Roadmap MBA. So what we do, our mission is to bring free business education to the world. I'm very fortunate that as I've gone through my career, basically business education has changed my life. It's allowed me to get really good jobs, but actually travel the world and actually hopefully build quite a fulfilling kind of career. But it was really hard to do. The truth is I had to do it the hard way, go out and read hundreds of different books, but also in the jobs that I've had, go out, practice things, see what works, see what doesn't work. And what I wanted to do was basically make a platform or a book and an app and the stuff that we've got, if you check out roadmapmba.com, so that you could be anywhere in the world. You could be in Vietnam, in Australia, in the UK, in the US. And my big point is that most business education historically was really expensive. So that if you wanted to build a better career or build a better business and really, understand more of the kind of techniques that are proven to help you be more successful, they're often held behind massive paywalls that unless you had £50,000 or maybe up to $200,000, you couldn't necessarily go to business school to learn the stuff that will help you grow in your business or career. So that's something I wanted to tackle. So what I did is that we created a CPD certified business course. So if you complete the course, you'll get something like this, which is the proper certificate. But essentially what we wanted to do was not just make it accessible in terms of cost. So basically where we're at the moment, using the app and the website and all the portals and things that we have, anyone anywhere in the world can get access to completely free business education and training. And that was really important, that I wanted to make business education accessible to 5 billion people. So 5 billion people will never download it or use it, but the point is they can if they want to, which was to remove a major barrier to learning and development kind of globally. But also accessibility to business education isn't just about cost. You've also got time. That to do it the old-fashioned way is either to give up 1 or 2 years to go to business school, but then you need to give up work for 1 or 2 years, which only the privileged few can do. Or if you read hundreds of books to source it from all these different places, not everyone has the time to do that as well. So, with the cost of living and actually people working, it's harder than ever to actually have free time to really help work on your personal learning and development. So what we wanted to do was tackle that and 11 other different areas which we see as barriers to business education. And that's what we do. So if you check us out on TikTok or on any of the platforms, if you check out roadmapmba.com, hopefully there's a tool and a suite of tools that you can use there to learn business education stuff. And the whole point is to actually just make it accessible and understandable. That what we've also tried to do is simplify down the academic jargon, which you get in all of the official kind of university textbooks, and just put it into plain, simple human language that you can understand. That actually, if you can pick up a concept in 2 minutes, which helps transform your sales process, why take 10 hours and 50 pages of really hard to read academic text if you can just simplify it down? So we've really kind of done that as well. On the live streams, what I tend to do is talk to myself in a room in the northeast of England here for a little bit. But essentially what I do, I cover different topics of stuff that I've done this week. I'm going to talk about the Great British Entrepreneur Awards, which I was shortlisted for this week, which is quite cool. We've got the Sam Fender gig winner, so I'm going to talk about that. And actually that was a lady called Julie McGill who won our ticket giveaway. The reason why we give away tickets to music events and live events is that we believe that live stuff is better. This is a live stream. It's genuinely 8:58 here in the UK. But the idea is that a lot of online education now is just pre-recorded. To be honest, we think it's better if there's interaction. So that's why live is better. And therefore, when we do live events and giveaways, That's the link if you ever wondered. I'm also going to talk about how we got rejected from Y Combinator, what that means, how we've still had to kind of pivot the plan a little bit and almost that kind of thing. One of the other topics I'm going to talk about is actually struggling for motivation. That is something which I've, had for a while now. I'm going to talk about why and just how it's affected me. And this is just part of my journey that either watch it or you don't. That's cool. I also actually turn 40 in about 2 weeks, which is a little bit scary, but also not. But I'm going to kind of recap, I guess, the last 20 years of my career, but in a way to share kind of lessons learned, if that kind of makes sense. Hopefully it does. And then we've got some other new stuff coming as well. So we've got a new episode of En Route coming with Bashak, and that's with a guy called Tim Garcia. Really super interesting guy. DJ, runs a record label. He's going to be DJing at Glastonbury soon. But it's all, again, with a community mission and community purpose, which is super cool. So check that out on YouTube. We're also going to broadcast on Monday on all of the other channels. We've got a new show coming from Isabel Martins as well, which is going to come soon. And then last but not least, just as part of a recap, is that I'm also going to be in London next week. So my day job is as a management consultant. So people hire me to do stuff and to run their businesses for them. And actually I'm in London Tuesday till Thursday next week, which I think is the 13th to the 15th. And there's something called Global Offshore Wind. So I'm a chartered mechanical engineer by trade. And essentially I work in renewables, and it's a really big kind of growing sector. So if you're in London or around for the show, please kind of drop me a message as well. Okay. If you see this on any of the social channels, please drop me a message, say hello in the comments. It should pop up on my screen. It might also pop up on yours as well. And yes, I'm going to kind of jump in. So one of the topics I wanted to talk about was the Great British Entrepreneur Awards. Last year on my socials, because I do a lot of stuff on social media, I actually saw a lot of people talk about this thing that I didn't really know too much about. Some really impressive people had applied and got shortlisted, and some of them actually went on to win. And basically it's an awards dinner stroke events stroke series of events that happen in the UK, where basically what they look to do is celebrate the small business, not just small business, but the entrepreneurial sector in the UK, for things like Innovator of the Year, Maker of the Year, Startup of the Year. And they actually introduced a new category this year called Purpose Entrepreneur of the Year. And what they were looking to do was celebrate people or help raise awareness of people that are trying to do something that's almost bigger than themselves. It's actually got a social impact. It's got a purpose to what they do. And actually, a lot of the other categories, I know that I'm never going to win Startup of the Year, because you're going to have some billion-dollar unicorn that's doing incredible things. But the purpose one really kind of, stuck out to me, actually, because at the heart of everything we're looking to do is support people around the world with their business, education, careers, and support and development. Because actually, if you can help support someone's business or career, that can support a whole set of generation of families. It can support and develop whole communities. That is really important to me, and that's the whole reason why we're doing it. So the Roadmap MBA doesn't exist to make a profit. It exists to hopefully have social impact around the world. We've got users in 56 countries now, which is super cool. I announced actually a press release, a partnership with a charity called Coco, and we're looking at supporting people in East Africa. But that's what we do. That's why we exist. So when actually the Purpose Entrepreneur of the Year award was announced as part of the group, I thought, well, I'll go for it. Why not? So I was on holiday 2 weeks ago, wrote the application, submitted it. Didn't take a huge amount of time. Each section is maximum 500 words. And actually, touch some wood, I've now been shortlisted. So I'm up against some really fabulous people from around the country. The final awards dinner is 20th of November. And it's the kind of thing that for your business, going up for awards is always a little bit scary, because what if you don't win? It's the rejection, it's the time it takes. But also, even if you don't win, the publicity and the PR is actually quite cool. So again, we are going to buy tickets and we are going to go down to the dinner. But actually investing your time in something like this is as good as investing in a paid advert in a magazine, if not better, because you get the social proof element. But essentially, things like the Great British Entrepreneur Awards are stuff that you could apply to in your local country or region. Is definitely worth doing. It does take a bit of time, but actually I would kind of recommend it. I don't know if we're going to win. In some ways, I'm not going to say I don't care if we don't win, because I do care, because I do want to win. But actually, you know, it's about the bigger picture. And then hopefully if just more people get aware of what we're trying to do and how we're trying to do it, that's also a win as well. So if you're in the UK, check out the Great British Entrepreneur Awards. You can always apply for next year. And yes, cool. If you got any questions, if you've applied, let me know in the comments, and I'd love to basically celebrate together, hopefully in November. Okay. Next one. How's everyone's week been so far? I must admit, I've got some big projects on at the moment, and they are taking up a lot of my time. And I must admit, I'd kind of fallen off the wagon a little bit as well with the live streams, but I just thought, sorry, I was going to do it again today. But again, I'd love it if you kind of get in touch as well. So one of the big things which I'd spoken about in the past was actually to do with, we as Roadmap MBA in our team had applied something called Y Combinator. So the Y Combinator program is that if you are ever going to start a startup and you have the ambition to build a $1 billion business, there are lots of different accelerator programs around the world that you can apply to. In theory, of course, you don't need to apply to any, you can just do it. But the truth is, there are so many landmines to avoid, there are so many hurdles to jump, and there's so many unknowns that actually, if you can get a support ecosystem to help you, that certainly kind of helps. If you've never heard of Y Combinator or YC, Google it. These guys helped launch Dropbox, Stripe, Coinbase, and I think it's a huge number. It's like 46 unicorns worldwide. They're based in California. And actually what they do is that it's the incubator system where they give you $500,000, but also introduce you to VCs and help build your startup and learn and iterate, and actually go through this 12-week program, which ends in something called Demo Day, which is then basically where you get to pitch to a big room full of the world's biggest investors with the hope that some invest, and then you go on this fabulous kind of journey. They have about 20,000 applicants every year. So the chance to get in is less than 1%. But yeah, so essentially what we did with the startup, because I've kind of funded this all myself, is that we applied in, I think it was 7th or 9th of February. The applications closed in April, and you found out good or bad in May. We found out about a week ago that we didn't get in. And basically, so that's cool. So basically that door is closed for now. You can always kind of reapply. But what does that mean for us? I guess it's funny because you kind of build up your business to adapt or pivot or change based on the circumstance. And if you ever get the chance to go somewhere like this, it's like the chance if you play football or soccer to get a trial at Barcelona. You should go for it, because you never know, you could get in and become the next Messi and go on for this incredible career. But if you get rejected from Barcelona, that's okay, because there's still 10,000 other clubs around the world that might love to have you and help you go on that kind of journey. So for us, like, yes, I did build up for that entry, and to hopefully then just accelerate and set things up so that if we got $500,000, I could then just execute, invest that, and then grow much quicker. That avenue is now shut, but it does mean that we can explore others, and I'm going through that process to try and figure out what's the best way to grow and adapt and pivot so it doesn't kind of stop us. Being honest, I don't think we're going to apply again in 2023, and actually since we already started to prep the application. So what we started to work on it back in October, we started to build up the plan for writing the submission and working on everything before we then kind of submitted. But since then, especially in January, we had the launch of ChatGPT. So we had a huge boost and boom in AI, which became the kind of cool thing. And what that's done is that a lot of the venture capital attention has now gone onto AI related products and services. So realistically, I would expect to see that a huge amount of people that were expected or accepted to YC this batch probably are related to AI. For us as a business though, and actually for anyone that does business education, the other thing which I think is really important, which relates to AI, is the fact that in the era of ChatGPT, and actually I've been starting to play with Midjourney and a few of the other AI tools as well, almost the era for charging for information in some ways is now gone. That in the past, if you wanted to learn stuff, you had to pay to go to university that had all this information that would teach you the information, and then you could learn and become an engineer and then go off into your career. But now with AI, there are some dubious things about where the sourced information comes from, but the whole world has changed that you don't necessarily have to buy a book on how to write a business plan, because AI will just tell you for free. So because of that, I think the world has changed a lot. So what we need to do and what other people need to do is adapt and pivot. What I'm tempted to do, which I'm going to look into, in the same way that Wikipedia is an open source encyclopedia to help people around the world learn and grow and develop, I'm tempted to go open source with the roadmap, because again, this isn't about making money. It's about helping people get access to stuff that can help them build a better life for themselves. That actually what it's doing is just forcing my hand to think about actually what do we want to build? How can that have the greatest good in the world, but also still compete with people with billion-dollar budgets that I simply kind of don't have. So although we did get rejected from YC, and was I sad? I was sad for a little bit, because there are pros and cons, and likewise it'd be wonderful if you got a big slug of money and the prestige and stuff that kind of comes with it. It's like recognition for your idea. It would have been great to get in. We didn't, but that's not going to kind of stop us or stop what we're trying to do. It will just involve a little bit of a pivot, but actually I'm quite excited to see what the future holds. Did you apply to YC? I'd love to know. Drop me a comment on YouTube or any of the other platforms. What are you planning to do next if you didn't get in? And then likewise, are you planning to kind of reapply as well? Okay. I'm going to flip the page. So how's everyone's Friday looking? Have you got any exciting planned? We've actually got the Sam Fender gig, which is tonight, which I'm really looking forward to. I bought the tickets through the business as part of the promotion about a year ago now, so it's quite nice when these things kind of finally come around. But it's also funny about how time changes and how quickly time goes. And it's the classic thing of if you have a goal or something that you want to achieve, the time is going to pass anyway, so don't worry about aiming for a really big goal, because you might as well use that time productively, even if it takes you a long time, rather than just waste it or not go for stuff that actually could benefit you, if that makes sense. So anyway, so I'm really going to look forward to that one tonight. Okay. One of the topics that I wanted to talk about today, and this is just me being honest, is about struggling for motivation. It can be hard no matter what your job is, or what your career is, or what your business is, that things aren't always going to go perfectly. There's going to be setbacks, there's going to be headaches, there's going to be new competitors pop up on the scene, there's going to be contracts that you lose. And actually, I'll be honest, it's really tough to run a business. It's really tough to basically have a career, have a job, have worries about what's going on in the world, and actually just do whatever it is that you want or need to do in life. That actually there are days when actually, you know what, you don't jump out of bed, you're not like jumping, singing from the rooftops, and actually things kind of get tough. I've had some of these recently, and it's really difficult actually just to kind of put a brave face on it in some ways. Ironically, that this week I've been really busy with other work stuff, management consultancy stuff. But actually it was also the same week that I got the announcement about the Great British Entrepreneur Awards. And the truth is that if you are struggling for motivation, don't feel guilty about it. We all have, you can't be 100% all the time. You're going to have good days, bad days, and you'll hopefully average somewhere around the middle. But almost some top tips. Don't feel bad about it. If you get the chance to, just take the afternoon off, relax, try and recoup, try and become happy again in terms of just whatever makes you happy, whatever makes you relaxed. Don't be afraid to do that. So for me, maybe playing computer games helps me switch off a little bit. I like just going for walks, being outdoors. But actually, you can't be 100% motivated all the time. So that just kind of helps. But the big thing as well is almost just remember why you do what you do. So we have a bigger mission. So with the roadmap, we're trying to make business education accessible to 5 billion people, just so that people around the world can have access to skills, techniques, tools, and education to help their businesses be more successful or help them get that next kind of promotion. But the point is, we can hopefully try and do some real kind of good in the world that actually that's why I'm kind of doing this. If I was just to give up tomorrow, there's going to be people that could benefit from what we're doing. But the point is, my motivation now largely comes from trying to support other people. But I also don't feel guilty that, like today, I haven't got a huge amount in the calendar, which is quite good. So I'm not going to feel guilty. I'm going to do my live streams. I've got some videos to do upstairs. I've got some other bits and bobs to do. But if it gets to 2 p.m. and I'm kind of done for the week, guilt-free, I'm going to turn my computer off, go home, and then just start to relax and just look after myself. Because I'm as guilty as anyone of kind of just working too hard and pushing yourself too much. That stress is real, anxiety is real, pressure is real. That actually, if you can manage those better and look after yourself, hopefully then it'll bring your sparkle back, it'll bring your motivation back. And actually that's something that can really help you kind of grow and develop as well. If you catch this on YouTube or LinkedIn or whichever, I'd love to know actually, do you ever struggle for motivation in business or careers or life in general? What is it that you find kind of works for you? I'd genuinely like to know, because it will actually help me as well. And it was just something I wanted to talk about, that especially say this week that I've had a few good announcements of charity stuff we're doing or the Entrepreneur Awards. I wanted to balance that with behind the scenes of actually, it's not always roses and, you know, brilliant stuff, that actually, you know, we all kind of struggle and stuff as well. So it was just an honest comment about where we're at, but actually I'd love if you get in touch as well. Okay. Yes, last one. So one of the topics which I wanted to talk about, this might be my last live stream before my birthday, just because I'm traveling next week and some other stuff, is that I'm 39 right now, but I turn 40 in about 2 weeks time. So 21st of June is my birthday. And it's really funny because as you kind of go through life and your careers and university and stuff, 40 is always a funny one. That back in the day was kind of middle age. I think now middle age is kind of 50. It's pushed back with, you know, how long people are living and also the way that people are living a lot more actively now. People don't die at 25 like they did, you know, 200 years ago. But actually it's a point of, you know, kind of reflection to do with actually, where did I think I was going to be? Where am I now? And actually, what have I learned during that time? That I'm starting to now interact with people that I've hired for different businesses. And it's really funny because when you either finish school, finish college, finish university, and you go into your first job, it's really easy to almost be bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, think the world is this really magical place, which it is. But also at times you will get hit with, you might get made redundant, you have recessions, you could get sacked. You could get bullied. There's loads of horrible things that can happen over the course of your career. And I've kind of been through quite a lot of it. I've got some friends that are going through something similar now. But almost it's with time and experience that actually there's a stoic phrase that this too shall pass. And the truth is, you will have high points in your career and low points in your career. And I've had both. There was one point probably about 9 years ago, I'd landed this really good job, really good salary. I was really happy and my career seemed to be doing this. I was on the verge of buying my dream car. I'd even paid the deposit. Everything seemed to be going brilliantly and I was really happy, and I'd worked so hard for like 10, 15 years to get to that point. But then the 2014 oil price crash happened and I was getting made redundant. And I remember one particular drive down a coast road near where I live. And it just felt like everything I'd ever worked for was actually starting to fall apart. And it was just, you know, these things happen, and that wasn't a great time in my life. And I had about 2-3 weeks of uncertainty. But then unbeknownst to me at the time, I was actually offered the managing director job. So again, another promotion still, same salary, but another promotion at somewhere else. But the point is, the drop off, the peak, the low point where I was like, oh crap, what's going to happen, ended up quite well. And then actually, if you fast forward the next 10 years, there's actually another set of love it, hate it, love it, hate it. But actually, every time that I had a career pivot, it kind of led me to where I am now. That in October 2019, I had the decision to either start to work for myself or go into a job to work for someone else again. And I wanted to give it my best shot and actually launch my own business, which then evolved into the roadmap and doing all the consultancy, and just give that a go, just do the best I could for a certain amount of time. And what's funny is that when you fast forward that, I'm really genuinely proud of everything that we've kind of achieved with the roadmap and the people we've tried to help and that kind of thing. But it's almost the fact of just trying your kind of best. But also with your career, when you've had highs and lows, I'm here to tell you right now that some people would think that as a business we're doing really well. But then also, it's not always the case, and you really kind of need to find what you love and what works for you. I actually really genuinely love the balance. So I love the creativity of doing all the roadmap stuff. I love helping people. I love trying to make an impact in the world. But my key background is as an engineer. I love working with real businesses, with real teams, and making an impact to other people's lives. And actually doing that stuff for real. I've spent a long time, 25 years, working on those skills. That I love the balance between the two. But the point is, the highs and the lows over the past 20 years as I turn 40 have actually helped me understand what happens in the world, how the world works. So that actually, I'm not going to say I'm bulletproof now, because of course I'm not. But when you expect things to be good and bad, you know that the good times will never last forever. But you also know that the bad times also won't last forever, and good things will happen from it. And the ability for humans and people to pivot your career, that if something bad happens, you still get the opportunity to pivot, change, maybe try something else, maybe follow a passion. Or you could be stuck in an employer where your heart's not really in it, they maybe don't respect you, and you can change that. But the ability is, one of the things that I've learned over time with your career is that you can change it, but you also get to follow your passions, which is quite cool as well. Money is an interesting one because I grew up moderately poor. My mum raised two boys, single parent family in Liverpool, and we knew what it was like when money was an issue. Where growing up at school, we didn't have the branded, shoes and trainers and stuff, so I did get bullied at school for that. But the point is, we also weren't poor in terms of on universal credit or benefits or whichever. But actually what's interesting is that through education, it's part of the whole reason why I do the roadmap stuff that I do. It helped me get a fantastic job and jobs and career. And then also through business education, helped me accelerate that further still. But what that's done is that you get to a point in your career where actually you have enough money. So for instance, what was my first job? My first graduate job was something like 27,000. And then you go through and you get promoted, that was quite a long time ago. But as you go through and you get promoted, you find that there's a point where it's probably between 40 and 50,000 pounds a year, especially if there's two of you, no kids in a family. But you get to a point where actually you have enough money. And the reason why that's important and why I wanted to share the lesson on it is that if you would have asked me 10 years ago, it was almost, how can I earn more money, and I'll do anything I can to have more money. But the truth is, you get to a point where you have enough that actually then your values really kick in, where it's about actually, what do I enjoy doing? How can I give value back? And then how can I have enough money to pay for everything that I need? But actually, I want to just do something that fulfills me, that makes me happy, that doesn't ruin my weekends, doesn't make me too stressed. And that's a life lesson, how I've changed over time. That I guess when I was younger, I was quite materialistic, but not in a brash way, but it was almost in a stuff that I never had when I was younger way, that suddenly when I could afford a nice car and nice stuff and a Rolex and all these things, it was fulfilling to almost get that chip off my shoulder. But once you've done it, you can then emotionally move on. And some people have different views on it, but I just wanted to share my kind of thinking on the topic. But why that's important is that as you go through your career in the 20 years, say leading up to your 40s, it's good and it's okay to not just chase money. Follow your passions, find something that you love to do, and you can almost use that to, I guess, build a happy kind of life. And then speaking of which, sorry, that's meant to be an exclamation mark, by the way. It's actually just to do with your life itself, that when you're at school and when you're at university, and almost in your early 20s, everyone's really social and you want to be liked by the group and you want to fit in and you want to just survive, I guess, in some ways. But the truth is, as you get older and you kind of get towards 40, you kind of care less what other people think. You care more about what people's values are and how they act. And you're also less willing to put up with crap that people put you through just because you went to school with them, if that makes sense. And actually, for me at least, almost the stability of having a stable home life is really important because that allows me to follow my passions and do everything else that I want to do. But the point is, I wanted to say that actually, the more you can find out about who you are, you don't have to have it all figured out at 16, 19, 20, 24, 30. But over time, it will help, and you'll find stuff that you love to do. You'll find stuff that actually you don't like doing, and it's okay to almost stick by those kind of rules, if that makes sense. And it was just as I kind of turned 40 in about 2 weeks' time, they were just some of my kind of lessons and stuff that I've kind of learned over the last few years. I'm also actually starting to plan the next 20 years, if that makes sense. I'm someone that likes to have these really big goals to aim towards. And one of them, I play basketball. I'm quite good. I'm not elite, but I'm pretty good. But actually, I love to have a big goal to aim for. And I have huge respect for different sports people. You'll see just about LeBron James, and I have Kobe Bryant signed pictures there. But actually, I have friends that play for the GB Masters basketball. So basically, you have Team GB, which is the Olympic team. But obviously, that's all about peak performance sport, where most people are probably in their 20s and 30s. But actually, for a certain sport, you have Masters leagues that have over 40s, over 45s, over 50s, over 55s, over 60s leagues, which still compete internationally. And I have friends, men and women, that play for the FIMBA GB basketball teams. And actually, some of them put posts up recently of them in their GB kit, and it was so cool. And, they play for the over 50s, over 55s, over 60s teams. And I just thought, you know what, that's pretty cool. So now that's one of my goals for the next 20 years, is start to aim towards to try and play at that level, to play international basketball. And although I probably won't get in, especially there's no chance of getting in the over 40s, because at that level, you still have ex-professional players that can still play, that of course they're the better players, of course they are. But actually, as you get older, fitness plays a key part, that actually I'm not going to be as skillful as others. I'm also not 6'10", but actually there's a good chance that I think I might be able to get into the over 50s squad and that kind of thing in the future, that it's just nice to have a goal to aim for. So as I'm looking to gradually build towards turning 60, that's just one of the goals that I want to kind of personally aim towards, to keep my fitness in check, that kind of thing as well. I'd love to know for you, what are you worried about? What do you want to achieve by the time you turn 40? And what do you want to achieve by the time you turn 60? I'd love to know kind of what people's aims, goals, and that kind of thing are. Do you have stuff that you want to aim towards? And if you do, please kind of drop me a comment as well. That'd be kind of quite cool. So at 9:26, I think I'm going to call it quits there. If you are on the course, basically we do live classroom sessions multiple times a week, 4 times a week. So we get to work and we work through the course. And actually what we do is that we work through each module one at a time. You can ask questions about how you can apply it for your business or career. Then you can check it out at roadmapmba.com. If you complete the course, you get a very sexy CPD certificate as well, which you can frame, which helps with your continued professional development. We also have, what have we got? So we've got the new En Route episode, which is going to get broadcast on Monday from Bashak, which is really good, with Tim Garcia. We've got a new Izzy Martin show coming soon as well. And yes, I think I'm going to call it quits. So thank you for your time. I will keep you up to date on other stuff. I genuinely appreciate everyone's time, consideration, that kind of thing as well. Have a wonderful weekend. Have fun at the Sam Fender gig if you're going. My name's Steve Pugh, and I'll hopefully speak to you soon. All right, cheers guys. Thank you. Bye-bye.